Right now, there are things inside your mind that guarantee you will break again. You do not see them, you do not feel them, but they are there, sitting underneath every decision, every relationship, every goal you set. Cracks in your foundation that the world knows exactly how to find, and until those cracks are removed, you will keep shattering no matter how hard you try to hold yourself together. This video eliminates them, one by one, 10 of them, and when they are gone, there will be nothing left for the world to use against you. Machiavelli wrote that men are so simple and so ready to obey present necessities that one who deceives will always find those willing to be deceived. You have been deceived, not by a person, by a system that taught you how to build your identity, your peace, your stability on a foundation made of things that can be taken from you overnight. And then the system acts surprised when you shatter. I'm going to hand you 10 ruthless principles that eliminate every vulnerability the world uses to collapse you from the inside. By the end of this video, you will not need to be stronger, because there will be nothing left to attack. Before we begin, drop this affirmation in the comments. I remove what breaks me. Let us start with the one mistake that ruins more people than any betrayal, any failure, any loss ever could. Stop building your life on things that can be removed overnight. Most people build their entire identity on things that can be removed with a single phone call. Your job title, your relationship status, your bank account, your social circle, your reputation. These are the materials most people use to answer the question, who am I? And every single one of them can vanish before tomorrow morning. Think about what happens when someone gets fired, not financially, psychologically. Watch their face, watch their posture, watch how they introduce themselves at a party 3 weeks later. The stumble, the pause, the shame. That is not a person who lost a job. That is a person who lost themselves because their identity was stitched into the title. Remove the title and there is nothing underneath, just a blank space where a self used to be. The same thing happens when a relationship ends. The person doesn't just lose a partner, they lose the version of themselves that only existed inside that relationship. The confident one, the loved one, the chosen one, and suddenly they are walking around like a ghost because the thing that told them who they were is gone and they never built anything underneath it. Machiavelli watched rulers collapse this way constantly. A prince who built his power on borrowed armies lost everything the moment those armies were recalled. A leader whose authority depended on a single alliance crumbled the instant that alliance shifted. Machiavelli's conclusion was brutal. He who relies on external foundations will fall when those foundations are moved. And foundations are always moved, always. Now think about Edison. The man held over 1,000 patents. He was the most famous inventor on the planet. And when his laboratory burned to the ground, when decades of prototypes and research notes turned to ash in a single night, he stood there watching the fire and told his son to go get his mother because she will never see a fire like this again. The next morning, he started rebuilding. He did not collapse, not because the loss was small, it was devastating. But his identity was never stored inside that building. It was stored inside his ability to build. The building was a product of who he was. It was never who he was. That distinction is the entire difference between a person who bends and a person who shatters. Here is the fix, and it is simple, but it will require you to be honest with yourself in a way that is uncomfortable. Sit down tonight and ask yourself this question. If I lost my job, my money, my relationship, and my reputation all in the same week, what would be left of me? Not what would I do? What would be left of me? Who am I without the title after my name? Who am I without the person sleeping next to me? Who am I without the number in my bank account? If the answer is nothing, or if the answer takes too long to arrive, you now know exactly what needs to change. You need to build on things that cannot be confiscated. Not goals, not achievements, not possessions, qualities. Your ability to think clearly when everything around you is chaos. Your standards that do not bend when the room changes or when the pressure increases. Your willingness to start from absolute zero without collapsing into self-pity or paralysis. Your capacity to sit alone in a quiet room and still know exactly who you are without a single external signal telling you. These are the materials that do not crack, not because they are glamorous, because they are internal. Nobody can repossess your ability to endure. Nobody can fire you from your own discipline. Nobody can break up with your capacity to rebuild. Everything else, every title, every relationship, every dollar, every follower, those are decoration on the house. Beautiful decoration, important decoration, but decoration nonetheless. And a man who confuses the decoration for the foundation will stand in the rubble one day wondering what happened. What happened is simple. The wind blew, and there was nothing underneath holding it together. But understanding what you are built on only solves half the problem. Because even if you rebuild your foundation with the right materials, there is something deeper. Something most people never examine. A hidden setting inside your mind that decides the exact moment you break. And you did not choose it. Your breaking point was installed by someone else. Every person alive carries an invisible line inside their head, a threshold, a limit, the exact amount of pressure, pain, rejection, or chaos they can absorb before their mind says that is enough and shuts everything down. Most people believe that line is natural. They think some people are just built tougher and others are built fragile, and that is the end of the story. It is not. That line was installed deliberately. Think about how you learned what should hurt you. A parent who panicked every time something went wrong taught your nervous system that problems are emergencies. A school system that punished every failure taught your brain that mistakes are catastrophic. A culture that rewarded you for being fragile and punished you for being too strong taught you that breaking is acceptable, but enduring is suspicious. None of this was accidental. None of it was your choice. But all of it is still running inside your operating system right now. Machiavelli understood this at a political level that most people never connect to their personal lives. He wrote that the most effective way to control a population is not through force. It is through conditioning. If you can teach people where their limits are before they discover those limits for themselves, you never have to use chains. They chain themselves. They reach the line you drew for them, and they stop. Not because they cannot go further, because they believe they cannot go further. And belief is a prison that requires no walls. Your breaking point is not a fact about you. It is an opinion that was installed before you were old enough to question it. Some of you were taught that rejection should destroy you. So it does. Some of you were taught that loneliness is unbearable. So it is. Some of you were taught that financial loss means personal failure. So you collapse every time the money gets tight. But these are programs, not truths. Programs can be overwritten. The moment you realize that your threshold was chosen for you by people who needed you to be manageable, something shifts permanently. You stop asking, how much can I take? You start asking, who decided how much I can take? And why did I let them? The person who reprograms their own threshold becomes genuinely dangerous. Not because they feel no pain, but because pain no longer triggers the automatic shutdown that everyone expects. And when people cannot predict when you will break, they cannot control you. That is the real power here. Now, most people hear this and think, all right, so I just need to be strong when things get hard. That sounds nice, but it misses the point entirely, because there is a specific scenario that destroys even the people who think they are tough. And almost nobody talks about it. Train your mind to function at 30%. Life does not test you when you are at your best. Read that again. The exam never arrives when you slept 8 hours, ate clean, meditated, and had a great morning. The exam arrives at 2 in the morning when you have not slept in 3 days. It arrives the week your finances are falling apart. It arrives the same month your relationship is crumbling and your health is declining and your confidence is already on the floor. That is when the real decisions land. And most people are completely unprepared because they only trained themselves to function under perfect conditions. Think about how athletes train. They do not just practice their sport in ideal conditions. They train exhausted. They train in rain. They train with injuries. They train under pressure with the clock running and the crowd screaming. Why? Because the game does not wait for you to be ready. The game arrives when it arrives, and you either perform or you do not. Your life works the same way. But nobody trained you for this. Nobody sat you down and said, here is how you make a decision when your brain is foggy and your emotions are on fire and everything around you is falling apart. Nobody taught you how to function at 30% capacity. So when you are forced to, you collapse. Not because the situation was impossible, because you never practiced operating in degraded conditions. Machiavelli wrote that a prince should never be idle in peaceful times, but should use them to prepare for adversity. Most people waste their best days celebrating their comfort instead of training for their worst ones. They wait for crisis to teach them how to handle crisis. By then, the tuition is your life falling apart in real time. That is not education, that is ambush. The person who deliberately practices making decisions while tired, while emotional, while under pressure, that person develops something that looks like supernatural composure to everyone else. It is not supernatural, it is rehearsed. Think about the people you admire most in moments of chaos. The person who stays calm when everyone else is screaming. The person who makes the right call when the room is on fire. You think they were born that way. They were not. They simply practiced being functional when everything inside them was begging to shut down. Here is how you start. The next time you are exhausted and your brain is telling you to quit for the day, make one more hard decision before you stop. Not a big one, a small one, but make it deliberately. The next time you are emotional and every cell in your body wants to react, pause for 10 seconds and choose your response instead of letting your nervous system choose it for you. The next time everything feels like it is falling apart at once, resist the urge to freeze. Pick one problem, solve it, then pick the next one. You are not trying to be a machine. You are training your mind to stay online when the power is low. Because the person who can think clearly at 30% will dominate at 100. And the person who can only function at 100 will collapse the moment life drops them to 60. That gap is where most people's lives fall apart. Close it now while you still have the luxury of practice. But there is another form of destruction that does not come from external events at all. It comes from inside your own skull, and it might be the most dangerous one on this list. Stop mentally replaying your worst moments. Right now, there is a film playing inside your head. It runs on a loop. The same scenes over and over. The betrayal, the rejection, the failure, the moment everything fell apart. You have watched that film so many times, you know every line, every detail, every word they said, every expression on their face. You think you are processing it. You are not. You are reopening the wound every single time you press play. There is a critical difference between analyzing pain and rehearsing it. Analysis says, what happened? What did it teach me? What will I do differently? That takes maybe 20 minutes. Rehearsal says, let me watch the whole thing again from the beginning. Let me feel every second of it. Let me re-experience the shock and the anger and the sadness as if it is happening right now. That takes months, sometimes years, sometimes a lifetime. And every single replay is a fresh cut disguised as reflection. Your brain does not distinguish clearly between a real experience and a vividly imagined one. When you mentally replay your worst moment, your nervous system responds as if it is happening again. Cortisol floods your system. Your heart rate shifts. Your mood drops. You are not remembering pain. You are recreating it inside your own body voluntarily, over and over, and calling it healing. The ruthless principle is this: extract the lesson, burn the footage. You do not need to watch the film again. You have the data. You know what happened. You know what it taught you. Now delete the file. Not because it did not matter, because you already got everything useful out of it. Carrying the footage is not loyalty to your experience. It is self-punishment dressed up as depth. And the people who break the hardest are not the ones who suffered the most. They are the ones who could not stop replaying the suffering long after it ended. Now, here is something that nobody in this space will tell you. Something that separates the people who bend from the people who snap in half permanently. And it has nothing to do with strength or willpower. It has to do with how many truths your mind can hold at the same time. Learn to hold two opposing truths without breaking. The thing that actually breaks most people is not pain. It is contradiction. Think about it. Someone you love hurts you. A dream you chased with everything you had fails. A belief you held your entire life turns out to be wrong. A person you trusted turns out to be a fraud. In that moment, your brain faces two truths that seem impossible to hold at the same time. This person loves me, and this person hurt me. I am talented, and I failed. I believed something, and I was wrong. Most people cannot hold both. They need to pick one. Either they loved me, or they did not. Either I am talented, or I am not. Either the world is good, or it is evil. And that need to pick one, that need to simplify, is what causes the psychological snap. Because reality is not simple. It never was. Machiavelli was one of the first thinkers in Western history to demand that people hold contradictions without flinching. He wrote about leaders who had to be both the lion and the fox, both merciful and ruthless, both loved and feared. He understood that the rigid mind, the mind that needs everything to fit into one neat category, is the mind that shatters the moment reality refuses to cooperate. And reality always refuses to cooperate. The unbreakable mind holds both truths at the same time without needing to resolve the tension. Someone can love you and still be incapable of treating you well. You can be extremely talented and still fail because the timing was wrong. A person can be good and still do something terrible. A place can be home and still be toxic. A memory can be beautiful and still be something you need to leave behind. These are not contradictions that need to be resolved. They are realities that need to be held. Most people's minds work like a courtroom. Every experience must be judged, guilty or innocent, good or bad, right or wrong. That courtroom model feels clean and efficient until reality sends in a case that does not fit either verdict. And reality sends those cases constantly. Your father loved you and damaged you. Your best friend supported you and betrayed you. Your career fulfilled you and emptied you. The courtroom cannot process this, so the mind crashes. It loops, it spirals, it breaks. The person who learns to hold contradiction does not need the courtroom. They do not need a verdict. They can sit with the discomfort of two truths existing at the same time and still function, still decide, still move. This is the psychological equivalent of being able to walk through fire without needing to first determine whether the fire is good or bad. You just walk through it. Machiavelli lived inside contradiction his entire life. He advised princes on ruthlessness while personally valuing mercy. He wrote about deception while craving honesty. He understood that the world is not one thing, it is many things at the same time. And the person who demands that it be one thing will be destroyed by the reality that it is not. No betrayal will break you once you accept that people are capable of both loyalty and treachery inside the same heart. No failure will break you once you accept that competence and defeat coexist in every ambitious life. No loss will break you once you accept that something can matter deeply and still need to end. Train yourself to hold contradiction. Sit with the discomfort. Let two truths exist without racing to kill one of them. It is the single most underrated form of mental strength in existence, and it is the one that would have saved you from almost every breakdown you have ever had. But holding contradiction is a defensive skill. The next principle is offensive. It is about preparing for destruction before destruction arrives. Practice losing everything before it actually happens. There is a practice that some of the most powerful people in history use daily. Roman emperors did it. Samurai did it. Machiavelli embedded it into his entire philosophy of leadership. It sounds dark, but it is the most freeing exercise you will ever perform. Every morning, before you start your day, sit in silence and lose everything in your mind, deliberately. Picture waking up tomorrow and your money is gone, your job is gone, your partner is gone, your reputation is destroyed, your friends have vanished. You are alone in an empty room with nothing but your own mind. Now sit inside that image. Do not flinch from it. Do not rush to comfort yourself. Stay there until the panic fades and something else replaces it. Clarity. Because here is what happens when you practice losing everything in your mind. The fear of loss evaporates, not because you stop caring, because you have already survived the worst-case scenario 100 times inside your own head. The simulation builds calluses on your psyche. When most people face a real loss, it hits them like a truck because they never saw it coming. But you saw it coming every morning at 6 a.m. You rehearsed it, you sat with it. You felt the weight and you did not collapse. So when reality actually delivers the blow, it lands on hardened ground instead of soft skin. Most people refuse to do this exercise because it feels morbid, it feels negative, it feels like inviting disaster, but that is the conditioning talking. The system wants you to stay surprised. A surprised person is a reactive person. A reactive person is a controllable person. The person who has already mentally rehearsed the worst is the person who responds instead of reacts when the worst actually shows up. And responding is power, reacting is chaos. Machiavelli believed that a prince who does not anticipate disaster in times of peace will be destroyed the moment disaster arrives. The underprepared ruler is shocked. The prepared ruler is merely inconvenienced. There is a massive difference between those two words. Shocked means paralyzed. Inconvenienced means adjusting. Both faced the same event. One crumbles, the other pivots. The only difference is who rehearsed the scenario beforehand. This is not pessimism. Pessimism says everything will go wrong and there is nothing you can do about it. This says, I have already walked through everything going wrong and I know exactly who I am on the other side of it. That knowledge is power that nothing can take from you because it exists entirely inside your own experience. The billionaire who has never imagined poverty is more fragile than the worker who has imagined it every morning and made peace with it. Fragility is not about what you have. It is about what you have never faced. Face it in your mind first, and the real thing will never own you. Now, there is a reason most people never do this exercise, the same reason they skip the next principle entirely. And it has to do with the one dependency that is so common, so normalized, so socially encouraged that most people do not even recognize it as a vulnerability. Never let your stability live inside someone else's choices. You have handed your peace to another person. Not physically, you would never do that. But psychologically, you did it so quietly that you did not even notice. Think about the last time someone's words ruined your entire day. Not a threat, not a physical act, just words. A text that came in cold, a look that felt dismissive, a comment that burrowed under your skin and stayed there for hours. Now ask yourself this. If a total stranger on the street said the exact same thing, would it have affected you the same way? Probably not. Which means the words were not the weapon. The access was the weapon. You gave that person proximity to your peace. And proximity is power. If one person's decision can collapse your emotional state for an entire week, your stability was never yours. It was on loan. You borrowed your calm from their behavior. You borrowed your confidence from their approval. You borrowed your mood from their presence. And anything that is borrowed can be repossessed at any time without your permission and without warning. This is the most dangerous structural weakness a human being can carry because it is invisible and it is celebrated. Society calls it love. It calls it closeness. It calls it vulnerability in the beautiful sense. But Machiavelli would call it exactly what it is: dependence. And dependence is a leash held by someone who may or may not have your best interests at heart. The fix is not to stop caring about people. That is the coward's version of this principle, and it does not work anyway because isolation creates its own form of fragility. The real fix is to generate your own stability from your own source, to build an internal generator that powers your peace regardless of what anyone around you is doing. Your calm is yours. Your confidence is yours. Your mood is yours. Other people can add to it. They can enhance it. They can make it richer. But nobody should be able to subtract from it. Nobody should hold the switch. This requires a fundamental rewiring of how you relate to people. Most people plug into others like appliances plug into a wall outlet. When the outlet works, they function. When the outlet is unplugged, they go dark. You need to become a person who runs on their own power supply. Someone who can sit across from chaos and remain steady. Someone who can watch a person they care about make a terrible decision and not let it collapse their entire week. Someone who can receive silence from a person they love and not interpret it as a death sentence. When you reach the point where someone can walk out of your life and your foundation does not even tremble, you have achieved something that most people will never understand. Not because you are heartless, because your heart is no longer the load-bearing wall for the entire structure. It is a room inside the house, an important room, a beautiful room, but not the foundation, not the thing that holds everything up. The foundation is you, just you. And a foundation made of you cannot be removed by anyone else's departure. That distinction between what carries weight and what does not brings us to something deeply tactical, something that requires you to look at your own psychology the way a surgeon looks at an X-ray, cold, clinical, without ego. Map your own collapse sequence. Every person alive has one. A specific chain of psychological events that always ends in the same dark place. It is a pattern, your pattern, and you have been running it for years without ever studying it. Maybe yours goes like this. Stress leads to withdrawal. Withdrawal leads to overthinking. Overthinking leads to self-doubt. Self-doubt leads to paralysis. Paralysis leads to shame. Shame leads to total shutdown. Or maybe yours is different. Maybe it starts with rejection. Rejection leads to people-pleasing. People-pleasing leads to exhaustion. Exhaustion leads to resentment. Resentment leads to an explosion that destroys everything around you. The specifics vary. The mechanics do not. It is always a chain. It is always predictable, and you have never once sat down to map it. This is what the most dangerous people in history understood. Not just how other people work, how they themselves work. Machiavelli did not just study the psychology of princes and popes. He studied his own reactions, his own weaknesses, his own emotional sequences, because a person who does not know their own pattern is a person who will keep falling into the same trap with different faces, different situations, different years. The trap is never the circumstance. The trap is you, the same you, running the same software, producing the same crash. Here is exactly what you do. Sit down tonight with a piece of paper. Write down the last 5 times you psychologically broke down, not the events that caused them. The internal sequence, the chain of feelings, thoughts, and decisions that led from the first crack to the full collapse. Be specific. First I felt this, then I started doing this, then I told myself this, then I isolated, then I spiraled, then I shut down, You will see the pattern immediately. It is the same chain every single time. Different year, different person, different situation, but the same internal sequence running underneath, like code you never examined. Now name each link, give them labels. Link 1 is the trigger. Link 2 is the first emotional response. Link 3 is the behavior that makes it worse. Link 4 is where you lose the ability to think clearly. Link 5 or 6 is where the full collapse happens. Now look at the chain and ask yourself, where was the last point I could have made a different choice? That is your intervention point. That is where you install the interrupt. Maybe it is between link 2 and link 3. Maybe when you feel the first wave of self-doubt, instead of withdrawing from everyone, you force yourself to do one productive thing. That single interruption breaks the chain. The sequence cannot complete. The collapse does not arrive. The next time the chain starts, and it will start because patterns do not die voluntarily, you will recognize link 2 before it reaches link 5, and you will break the chain manually. Not because you are suddenly tougher, because you finally understand your own engineering well enough to override the automatic sequence. Machiavelli studied the patterns of failing states the same way. He did not just record that empires fell. He mapped the exact sequence of decisions that led to the fall. Then he taught future rulers how to interrupt that sequence before it completed. You must do the same thing with your own mind. The person who maps their own collapse is the person who stops collapsing. Everyone else just keeps wondering why the same thing keeps happening to them, but mapping your collapse only protects you from the future. There is still the matter of the past, the thing that already happened, the chapter you wish you could erase. And what you do with that chapter determines whether it becomes a coffin or a crown. Turn your worst chapter into your operating manual. Most people treat their worst experience like a disease they are trying to recover from. They hide it, they apologize for it, they minimize it in conversations, they treat it as a stain on their timeline that they need to bleach out before anyone sees it. That instinct is wrong. Dead wrong. Your worst chapter is not a scar to be covered. It is a credential that nobody else in the room can claim. Think about two people sitting across from each other in a negotiation. One had a smooth ride, good family, good school, steady career, no major disruptions. The other lost everything at 25, rebuilt from zero, got betrayed by people they trusted, failed publicly, and is still sitting at that table anyway. Who do you think has the deeper understanding of human nature? Who do you think reads the room better? Who do you think is harder to intimidate? The answer is obvious, because suffering is education. Not the kind they give you in a classroom, the kind that rewires your entire perception of what is real and what is performance. Stop treating your past like something to recover from. Start treating it as something to operate from. Every crisis you survived taught you something that comfortable people will never learn. Every betrayal sharpened your ability to read intent before it announces itself. Every failure eliminated an illusion that was going to cost you something much larger down the road. Every night you spent on the floor wondering if you could keep going is proof that you can keep going because you already did. The people who have never been broken are often the most dangerous to trust with real responsibility, not because they are bad people, because they have never been tested. They have never had reality reach into their chest and squeeze until they could not breathe. They operate on theory. You operate on experience. And experience in this context is not a polite word. It is a scar that taught you something no classroom ever could. How to read a room. How to see a betrayal forming 3 moves ahead. How to stay calm when the ground disappears because you have already fallen and you know exactly what the bottom feels like. That knowledge is not a liability. It is an arsenal. Machiavelli himself wrote his greatest work not from a palace, but from exile. He was stripped of his title, tortured, and cast out by the very government he had served. And in that darkness, alone, humiliated, with nothing left but his mind, he produced the most influential text on power ever written. His worst chapter became his legacy, not despite the suffering. Because of it, the exile gave him clarity that power never could. The torture gave him an understanding of human nature that comfort would have hidden from him forever. Your worst chapter holds the same potential, but only if you stop hiding it and start wielding it like the weapon it was always meant to become. Which brings us to the final principle, the one that changes everything you just heard, the one that most people are not psychologically ready for. But you have been here for the last 40 minutes. You are not most people. The person who keeps breaking was never really you. Every principle in this video asked you to remove something, a weak foundation, a false threshold, a dependency, a mental loop, a rigid way of thinking, a fear of loss, an emotional outsource, a blind pattern, a hidden shame. You have spent this entire video stripping away the parts of you that were always going to fail. But here is the question nobody asks. If you remove everything that was installed by other people, everything that was programmed by a system that needed you to be breakable, everything that was borrowed and fragile and conditional, what is left? The answer is the version of you that was underneath all of it. The version that existed before anyone told you what should hurt, before anyone taught you where your limits were, before society installed a breaking point that served everyone except you. That version has been buried for years, maybe decades, but it was never destroyed. It was just covered. The person who keeps breaking was never the real you. It was the constructed you, the conditioned you, the version that was assembled from other people's expectations, other people's fears, other people's definition of what you should be able to handle. That version was always going to crack because it was built by people who needed you to crack. Obedient people are easier to manage. Fragile people are easier to control. People who break on schedule are predictable. And predictable people are profitable for everyone except themselves. Machiavelli wrote that everyone sees what you appear to be, but few experience what you really are. You have been appearing to be the conditioned version your entire life, the one who breaks where they were told to break, the one who stops where they were told to stop, the one who collapses right on schedule. But that is not what you really are. What you really are is the thing underneath the programming, the thing that survived every single breakdown and kept going. The thing that sat through this entire video because some part of it already knew these truths before I said them out loud. This video did not make you tougher. It did not add armor. It did not give you 10 new things to carry. It removed 10 layers of weakness that were never yours to begin with. And what is left now, the stripped down, recalibrated, reprogrammed version standing in the wreckage of everything that used to control you. That version cannot be broken. Not because it is invincible, because there is nothing left to attack. You walked in here with 10 cracks in your foundation. You are walking out with none. The world will keep swinging. People will keep betraying. Life will keep testing. But the version of you that used to shatter under that pressure is gone. What remains is something quieter, something colder, something that does not flinch because it has already faced every scenario inside its own mind and survived. Something that does not depend on anyone else's behavior to remain stable. Something that holds contradictions without cracking. Something that studies its own patterns instead of repeating them. Something that treats its darkest chapter as fuel instead of shame. That is what it means to be unbreakable, not invincible. Unattackable, because there are no weak points left to find. Look at yourself right now compared to 40 minutes ago. You are not the same person. Something shifted. Something was removed. You can feel it. That weight you walked in here carrying, the anxiety, the doubt, the fear that the next hit would be the one that finishes you. It is lighter now, not because I gave you something, because I helped you take something off. 10 somethings, 10 structural weaknesses that were never yours to carry. 10 cracks that other people installed and you spent your whole life maintaining. They are gone now. And what is standing in their place is something quieter, something harder to name, something that does not need motivation to function, does not need approval to move, does not need perfect conditions to perform, does not need closure to let go, does not need anyone else's behavior to remain stable. That is you, the actual you, maybe for the first time. If this video stripped away something that was holding you down, hit the like button. Share this with someone who is still carrying weight that was never theirs. Subscribe if you have not, because we are building something here that most channels will never touch. And drop this final affirmation in the comments. Nothing left to break. The old version is gone. Now go prove it.